Alrighty, welcome to the 78th edition of Before the Battle. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. Joining me, as always, Jed Meshew from MMAfighting.com and Wesley Riddle from MMAsucker.com. Jed, how are you doing on this fantastic Thursday night? What's going on?
I'm really tired, but I have a NOS active energy. Buy it with your monies. So I'm going to be ready to go right here. How are you doing, Nicholas?
Did you get that from Ariel Helwani? Because I know Nas, at least at one point, he sponsored the MMA Hour. So
No, from George St. Pierre, bruh. Come on, do you not? Maybe you weren't even born at the time that George St. Pierre did his NOS promo. Buy it with your monies.
I probably wasn't. You're picking up NOS drinks from your colleagues from the MMA Hour, and you also got some brand new SB Nation gear. I have to say, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, you should be jealous. It's just all it is. You should be jealous.
But now I'm gonna get myself fucked up with that SB Nation T-shirt that, for some reason, you're not showing anybody.
Dude, I like to play it cool, bro. Ain't no need to flex on you.
All right, Wes Riddle, what's going on? I know you're down and out last week. Are you doing better this week?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not drinking it all. I made myself a little pre-fight breakdown shake. Just
I don't think that's what those are meant for, but all right.
It's just a little bit of organic fruit and some milk that I got rolling. So thought I'd get one together so we could talk about this exciting fight card.
Yeah, this awesome fight card.
Liar.
No, I'm dead serious. This is a really good card.
Fucking liar.
Dude, this card is fantastic.
I am.
Go fuck yourself, Wes.
I am a UFC fan. I like a lot of MMA. I've watched 2 of 4 Contender Series cards over the past 4 weeks. I'm about to watch the Tachi Palace main event that is happening in a few moments. But this card, I'm missing. But this card is not good at all. Jed, before we get to UFC Fight Night 114, Sergio Pettis, Brandon Moreno in Mexico, let's get to last week's show. John Jones, Daniel Cormier 2, the results from UFC 214. What do you got for us?
Before we do that, I just want to say, you realize that we aren't going to see each other for like a month after this, right? Like the next fight card isn't till September.
Well, that's if you don't count McGregor Mayweather. I know you won't be there because you'll be, crawled up in a ball crying.
I'm not watching that for shit. I'm definitely not watching that. But are we gonna do a breakdown for McGregor Mayweather? All of us are picking Mayweather. Shocker! We're about to have a big long stretch of nothing as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's a Bellator tucked in there or something that's worthwhile, but nothing I can think of. So. It's a shame that we're coming off the heels of 214, which was the biggest card of the year. One of the most actually best cards to watch in general. And then we're getting this outing, and then we're not going to have anything for like a month. So it'll be nice to have some time off. But I just wanted us to lament the fact that I'm not going to get to talk to you fellas for a while after this. But you said it. It's time.
But you will get to talk to me most likely unless Andrew steps his game up.
Yeah, probably. I'll probably be talking to you all the time then. But we here at Before the Battle, we always call to account and give credit where it's due. And this week, credit goes to my man, Wesley Riddle. Congratulations, Wes. You have won both the DraftKings and the picks competition with a sterling 8-4 record in the picks choice. I was second with a 7-5 record, though I will take a little bit away from your victory. I think we're all aware that Eric Shelton got fucking robbed, and had Eric Shelton not been robbed, I would have been the 8-4, you would have been the 7-5, and Nick, then you would have had a losing record. So you both got very lucky that Eric Shelton was just unceremoniously robbed, and so Wes takes home the gold. Also, Wes just kicked the shit out of us in DraftKings. If you were watching last week, you might recall that Nicholas felt very, very confident. So confident that he decided he wanted to put a little cash down on this.
Oh, damn, I forgot about that.
And I told Wes he should get in, too. I was like, Wes, it's just $5. Jump on in. And Wes would have been the winner. So a missed opportunity for Wes Riddle here, who turned up just shy of 500 points with 498 points. His own, like everybody on his team did pretty solid work. The only person who did like his worst performance was the Baron Hinnenbrow, who only put up 28.5 points. But otherwise, he had 2 get over triple digits, another 2 in the 90s, and then Brian Ortega with that 3rd round submission bringing in 70 points. He kicked the shit out of me by 130 points. And then I summarily kicked the shit out of Nick by 120-ish points. So really, Wes, just an all-around excellent endeavor for you, sir. Your just to call to account on the picks, your misses were Andre Feely, Hiddenbrow, Jason Knight, and Jimmy Manoa. You got everybody else right. I missed Eric Shelton, which was bullshit. Also missed Andre Feely, missed Hiddenbrow. I missed Moicano, which is sort of bullshit because he was winning until he decided to be real fucking dumb. Jimmy Manoa as well. And then Nicholas, you missed Curran, Feely, Barrow, Knight, Manoa, and the bold proclamation that Demian Maia was going to do a goddamn thing to Tyron Woodley. So that is how we did last week. None of us got a damn thing right on performance or Fight of the Night bonuses. Just to recap, I had DC Jones. Wes, you had Lamas Knight, and Nick, you had Lawler Cerrone as Fight of the Night. Brian Ortega, Hanato Moicano took home Fight of the Night honors.
The odds of one of those 3 fights not being Fight of the Night should have been probably plus 2,000. Like, I was confident. Okay, maybe Lawler Cerrone's not going to get it, but if it's not that, it's probably the main event, and if not that, it's probably Knight Lama. So,
I mean, I agree with you, and frankly, I think both DC Jones and Lawler Cerrone had credible arguments to win Fight of the Night honors that night over Ortega Moicano. Obviously, Lamas Knight did not because it ended so quickly. As far as performances, I had Manoa Lawler, Wes had Woodley Lawler, and Nick, you had Cyborg Manoa. Shockingly, Wes, the Tyron Woodley performance bonus, he just missed out. I'm not sure how. He stuffed 21 takedowns. You would think that just a sterling defensive wrestling acumen like that would get you an extra 50K, but Dana White hates Tyron Woodley, so he didn't get you kind of got robbed a little bit on the performance of the night bonus as well. Nick and I both picked a dude who got knocked out in under a minute, and that didn't help us much in our case.
Oh, I said Jimmy Manoa. Jesus.
Yes, we both had Manoa. The performance winners were, of course, Volkan Ozdemir, who knocked out Jimmy Manoa, and John Jones, who was the first man to stop Daniel Cormier. So that is how everything came to account.
So that $5 bet, remind me how we said it. Was it only if either of us won, or if you just?
I don't believe we ever specified. I think it's. I
guess it's off. I think that's a misbet.
I mean, if you want to go, I'm a generous soul and will allow it. But I just think.
I think of it this way though. I wasn't in it, therefore you two were in it, and Jed, you won out of you two. So I feel like in that sense,
Wes, you wanted to bet Monopoly money. Just shh.
So, I forgot about money, that. Wes did want to bet Monopoly money. That's true.
I did. So I'm expecting it, and I will definitely send you all my address after this.
Don't say it live on the air.
For Monopoly money.
Yeah, don't share your address live on Before the Battle, or else you might all 5 of our listeners right now might show up at your house tonight, and that would be probably not the most fun thing ever to happen to you. Well, that is it. UFC 214. I did terrible.
Wait, Wes, when is the UFC coming to Virginia? Didn't we talked about this before? When is that?
Yeah,
the 11th.
Now I saw Luke Thomas tweeted something out, but it's November 11th. He sent a picture out, and it showed something completely different. It said they were going to Sydney, Australia, in his picture, but I don't think that's right. I'm pretty sure whatever they announced, because they even said it on the
I'm gonna look into it because. It sure looks like they're going to be in Norfolk, Virginia on November 11th, and that they're in Australia on the 19th.
I'm hoping I'll be there, so I'm hoping, Jed, you can make it. And Nick, if you were able to find a way, that would be cool.
I can't, but I would love to. Any other weekend, I would have absolutely come. I'm at a wedding that weekend. Also, right before the weekend before that is UFC 217, right? And that's the big Madison Square Garden card. That's going to have Bisping, GSP, that's going to be a balled out card. And that morning I will be running a marathon. So I'm not even going to give a shit about that card because I won't want to move.
Yeah, I would if I could get like a $200 plane ticket down to Virginia, and if the UFC wasn't coming to Winnipeg the next month, then I would maybe consider it. But UFC's headed back to Winnipeg December 16th. Book it. Coming back. But the unfortunate thing is that I have been declined press credentials only because I am under 18 years old. And I am missing the boat because I will turn 18 July of next year. I am missing that mark by 6 months, and that is really frustrating considering UFC is not going to come back to Winnipeg in 2018 or 2019, maybe even not 2020. So
I didn't even think. I thought BE didn't get press credentials.
I actually applied under Severe MMA for the Toronto card last December.
Ooh,
yeah.
Just apply. You can use my name. You just apply my shit. I don't give a fuck, dude. It was like you could just go. It would be so easy to fake press creds. That's what I've thought every time I've gone to a UFC event. Every time I've gone to a UFC event, dude. Wes, honestly, you can probably get credentialed to Norfolk. Like, I'm not
hilarious.
No one's gonna go there. It's Virginia. Sorry, Wes, but it's kind of true.
Dude, no one's gonna be at that event. Like, I don't even like that event doesn't have a main event right now, but I'm relatively confident that it won't be that hard to get. Like,
the only good main event that they ever did in Virginia, I can't remember who was on the card, but I'm pretty sure the Korean Zombie might have been on it. No, that's actually what it was. It was the Korean Zombie versus Dustin Poirier.
Oh yeah, that was a fucking baller fight. I mean, it's like, look, nobody was at Nashville when I went to Nashville. Like, fucking, I honestly think
Artem Lobov was the main event. No kidding.
I know. I'm telling you, there were like less than 10 media people there. I can't imagine they would deny you creds.
My theory for how I'm going to get into UFC Winnipeg in December is that no one is going to want to go there because it is happening in the middle of the winter in one of the coldest cities in the world. It's going to be minus freaking 30 degrees Celsius. And no one's going to want to go.
Fucking cold it is where you live?
The coldest it'll get is minus 40.
Dude, fucking Fahrenheit. Move. Jesus Christ.
Minus 40 Fahrenheit, and I go through that for 2 straight months, and it's not fun. So no one will want to go.
When
no one's going to be there.
You're looking in the South, I hope.
They will need press people. And I'm going to be like, hey, I'm almost 18, not quite there, but without me, this show is flopping. Bring me on. And then they're doing it. So no one except for yours truly will be at that UFC Winnipeg show. That's my conspiracy theory.
God damn.
And with that,
realize how fucking colder you are.
It's come have a visit. It'll be fun.
Also, I never even considered this, but like, are the Winnipeg Jets, or that's a team, right?
That's your team.
I know, right? I was going to say, you guys just stole our fucking squad. I never even thought about this. You're my mortal enemy. Fuck you.
Well, I did a podcast, Lopez Radio, with Jeremy Lopez the other day, and he's also in Atlanta or close by. So
Jeremy Lopez, go fuck yourself. I'm right here in Atlanta. You can't even call me. You get this jackass from Winnipeg. Go fuck yourself, Jeremy.
I feel like you, Daniel Levy, and Jeremy will, somehow have something against me. They don't, but you do already. So you'll get them together, and you're going to come riot in Winnipeg to try and get rid of me.
I'm just saying, fuck Winnipeg. Y'all stole our hockey team.
All right.
Dicks.
All right, let's get into UFC Fight Night 114 because I don't want to be here long, and we have a whole card to get through. I tried to get Wes and Jed to agree to not talk about every single fight.
But we're men of the people, and we are not going to deny you, the fans, our exquisite breakdown of what honestly might be the worst card I've ever seen. Just honestly.
My luck is incredible this summer with the cards I've missed. So I've missed the Gunnar Santiago Ponzinibbio card. Off paper, fun. That was a fun card, but on paper, that was terrible. This card, same thing, probably. It might be fun, probably not. But on paper, really, really bad card. So kind of happy. Unlike you, I have not missed Weidman Gastelum, but I'm missing Pettis and Moreno.
As I'm looking at this card, I think it's probably going to be really fun. Not looking at the names at all, but just looking at the weight classes on display. We've got 2 185 fights and nothing above that. So that's actually usually a pretty solid indicator of what will be an enjoyable evening of fights.
You just want to try and piss me off because I'm not going to see this card, but I know
I'm not watching this fucking card either, dude. We're in the same boat. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not wasting my Saturday night. I'll TiVo this shit and catch it in the morning.
All right. Well, we're not watching Wes is, but we're going to, all three of us will break it down right here, right now. Let's go. First fight of the night on UFC Fight Pass, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We got a slobber knocker at lightweight, Alvaro Herrera taking on Jordan Ronaldo. Both guys, I believe, have losing records in the UFC. I cannot confirm nor deny, but that is what I believe to be true.
If you count tough Latin America too, then yes, both have. Otherwise, Herrera's 1-1.
Oh, wow. 500. That is impressive. Jed, who is the pick?
Not only is he 500, Alvaro Herrera has a probably the best win you'll ever see over now currently 4-1 Vernon Ramos. Who, yeah, you don't know who that is because I sure as shit don't know who that is. That's his UFC win there. Dude, I'm not going to try and pretend that this is awesome. Both of these guys aren't great, and their records have shown that. The one thing I will say here is Rinaldi, at least, like, Herrera lost to Vicente Luque, who is actually a decent fighter, not like a great fighter. But Rinaldi lost to God damn it, why am I blanking on his name right now?
Abel Trujillo.
Yeah, Abel Trujillo, who is not a great human being, but is actually a pretty solid fighter. I'm going with, and he went the distance with Abel Trujillo as opposed to Herrera, who I think got tapped by Luque. So I'm just gonna play the odds here. He looked better against probably a better fighter, or at least a comparable fighter. So give me old Rinaldi, I suppose, by decision.
Yeah, I've been back in. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, breaking news, Cesar Fajea versus Nate Marquardt has been added to the Virginia card.
Why are they going to do that to Nate Marquardt?
I'm incredibly jealous that.
Why are they going to do that to me?
I'm jealous that you'll be able to watch that in person.
Well, I'm glad that we just talked about it, and now there's a fight, and at least they're two names that, I mean, I know who they are, so I'm kind of pleased for that, but I'll talk about this fight.
That's me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Fuck up Nate Marquardt.
If this was Nate Marquardt pre-USADA, I would probably, without a doubt, pick Marquardt. But, yeah. Oh, in this day and age, I'm definitely all day going Muchance. My pick for this one, though, I've been back and forth on it a little bit. I have a couple notes. So if I'm looking over here, that's why. The biggest thing that I've noticed with Jordan Rinaldi is that he throws a lot of stepping in shots. He looks for a left hook pretty frequently. And he's also pretty crafty off his back. He has 7 victories by submission. And he was able to eat quite a bit of shots from Abel Trujillo, but he never went down. The only thing I did see on Rinaldi's record that kind of made me worried about picking him is that this guy was knocked out by James Montazeri, who is not really that great of a fighter. But Rinaldi does have a submission victory back in the day, 2010, I believe, over Dennis Bermuda as a pretty good top fighter. Alvaro Herrera, he's pretty wild. He has a great first round. He doesn't really throw a lot consistently. He throws a lot in kind of one-shot kind of bursts, and then it kind of slows down and try to pace himself out. But I noticed that he struggles quite a bit with his cardio, especially in those later rounds. I think we might see Herrera have the better start, but Rinaldi be able to pick up those 2 later rounds and maybe get the fight down to the ground. And I would definitely favor Rinaldi in that aspect. So I actually picked Rinaldi. I actually picked him by a second-round submission, seeing that Vicente Luque was able to take advantage of that, and Jordan Rinaldi has quite a bit of submissions impressively on his record. So I'm going to take Jordan Rinaldi by a second-round submission.
My pick here is Jordan Rinaldi. I don't know why he didn't get knocked out by Abel Trujillo, so therefore he has something. Alvaro Herrera was on tough, and he has a 1-1 record, and his one win was over a guy. I don't know who he is, and he's probably not good. So I'm going Rinaldi. He'll probably finish Herrera, but I don't really know. Rinaldi, though, is the pick. Next up, Joseph Morales taking on Roberto Sanchez. We got Bobo taking on Little Fury. Jed, 2 newcomers here, 2 undefeated newcomers here. Do you know anything about either man?
I know that Joseph Morales is a TAM guy, a Team Alpha Male dude, that they seem to think has a pretty bright future. He's only 22 years old, so that's worth it. And frankly, that is literally why I'm picking him. He is significantly younger than Roberto Sanchez, like almost a decade younger, and training with a team that is, I think we can quibble about how good Team Alpha Male is and the coaching staff there. Opinions differ, but they have historically produced excellent sub 155 talent. And as far as like, if you are just looking on paper, like, hey, here's a guy who is going to try and make it as a flyweight, maybe grow into his body a little more, end up as a bantamweight. There are a few teams you'd rather have that guy training out of than Team Alpha Male. Just the quality of training partner for men his size he's going to have is sensational. And his amateur and pro record up to this point has been sterling. Done a lot of work on the Global Knockout Series. I think he's fought in CFFC as well. And Roberto Sanchez probably has like a better-ish record if you like. He came up through Legacy and through LFA. I've actually seen him fight before. I haven't seen Joseph Morales fight because Roberto Sanchez has been on those Legacy cards, and I've watched them because I have nothing to do on my Friday nights because I'm a sad, lonely man apparently. But yeah, like this appears that it might be a grappling centric contest just with the way both of these guys have historically picked up their wins. But I think Morales is younger, looks to be a little bit more physical, and if he feels so compelled, can probably keep this standing and then work some type of striking game as well here. So give me the much younger man training with the better camp, Joseph Morales, by decision.
For a fight you in general know very little about, I applaud you for quite the lengthy breakdown.
I felt compelled.
I actually really like this matchup. I think this might be a possible contender for Fight of the Night because both of these two, they are flyweights and they're coming in undefeated. Both Morales with an 8-0 record and then Sanchez with a 7-0 record. After watching a little bit of tape, I'm pretty impressed with both. I think both of them could make some impressive moves in the UFC. I feel like we might see them stick around. But I do favor Morales a little bit in this one. He's coming off a stoppage victory over Sean Santella, who's a very, very good prospect. And as Jed mentioned, a Team Alpha Male fighter. Utilizes a lot of ground and pound in his fights. And I feel like that could be pretty important against a guy in Roberto Sanchez, who has a very, very extensive background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a 4-stripe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and has numerous competition victories just in competing. And I think most of his victories, probably about 6 or 7 in his career professionally, that is, have come by submission victory. So, and he's also pretty crafty off his back, which is possibly somewhere that Morales could struggle. But seeing that Morales has gone past the 3rd round before, he's been in a couple of 5-round fights, I think. I do favor him in this one. I'm very impressed with his striking skills. I think that he's going to be able to win those exchanges too if it stays on the feet. Sanchez, I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to land a lot of punches. I think his best shot's maybe going to come off his back because Morales is definitely the fighter to initiate more takedowns. I'm going to pick Morales by decision, and I think this will actually be a pretty good fight. So I think the UFC Fight Pass headliner. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm not going to be watching this card because I have to work. But I may watch this on my phone.
Yeah, my pick here is Joseph Morales here as well. Team Alpha Male, their coaches there, the team as a whole has been talking about Bobo Morales a lot over the past years. Like I've known who he was or who he is for quite some time. Actually, I don't know tons about his game. His striking seems good. Knowing that he trains a Team Alpha Male, his submissions and his grappling game as a whole is going to be decent and probably getting better. He's a lot younger, as Jed mentioned. He has the experience fighting in 5-round fights. Sanchez had a 5-rounder? From what Wes said, it doesn't sound like it.
I do not believe so. I think just Morales has.
Right. So there's that. I mean, in general, I think, fight or training with the better fighters, with the better talent, better team. I think, it's probably the better fighter. He was on looking for a fight. Dana White saw something in him that he liked, and although looking for a fight guys seems to be not doing too well, I think they may have hit something, I'm not going to say he's a former champ or future champ, far from it, but, I think he could go somewhat far in this 125-pound division. So Bobo Joe Morales is the pick here by decision.
Next up, we've all picked the upset. Way to go, us. Bold man, that's what
I'm honestly surprised that Morales is plus money. But moving on, we got Jose Quinones taking on Diego Pitbull Rivas. That is the opener on the FS1 prelims at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Quinones was, of course, on the first Ultimate Fighter Latin America a few years back. Rivas is coming off that big win over Noah Lahat, one of the knockout of the years of last year. He has not fought since then. He actually had cancer. So he was diagnosed with cancer and not expected to live. So incredible story. Here he is today. The chemo worked, the treatments worked, and here he is today, ready to make his return about a year and a half off his last fight over Lahat. Jed, Diego Rivas, or Jose Quinones?
Well, you mentioned that Quinones was coming off tough. Diego Rivas was on the exact same season of tough.
That's right.
With Quinones. Quinones competed as a bantamweight, I believe, on Tough Latin America 1, and Rivas was a featherweight. As I believe this is his bantamweight debut. In fact, I don't know. Tough for me to be aware of how he did on the Chilean regional scene, because it's the Chilean regional scene. But I believe this is his actual bantamweight debut. Quinones obviously has been competing at bantamweight, I think, for his entire career. I don't really know what else to say here. Like, I don't really see what Rivas does to win this fight. Inspirational story. Congrats on beating the cancer, assuming he's beat it. I hope so, certainly. But he is way less active on the feet and not as good of a wrestler. So I just don't know what he's going to do. And honestly, I'm not sure despite the fact that he competed at featherweight, I'm not sure he's going to be like a substantially bigger dude, maybe a little bit thicker than Quinones, but it just seems like it should be a layup win for Quinones here. He's more active on the feet. I think he can get takedowns if he wants. Rivas might be able to get takedowns as well, but I just think in general the wrestling advantage goes to Quinones. So give me Quinones on points.
Yeah, I'm pretty much thinking the same thing as you. Quinones fights pretty tall, and sometimes he fights a little bit tentatively after he gets hit a couple times. And he's not really too effective with his strikes, but somehow he's able to make it work. And he made it work when he fought, I think it was Alejandro Perez on the finale. He was able to land quite a decent amount of strikes, especially a lot of counters that hurt Perez a couple times, but Perez was able to get the better of him in that fight, despite being the better wrestler, as you mentioned. I'm thinking the same thing as you. I think Quinones is probably the better fighter in this one. Diego Rivas, I feel like most people are probably picking him, knowing the fact that he got that flying knee knockout over Noah Lahat. But then again, if you think about Noah Lahat, he gets pretty predictable in what he does. Continuously shoots for takedowns. He's very good once he gets on top, but really, really predictable. And I think that maybe they probably watched some tape study on that. Kind of were able to see I felt like Noah was pretty much shooting the same takedowns every single time, not trying to mix it up too much, and Rivas was able to capitalize. But his UFC debut, he fought Rodolfo Rubio, and it was not really the best performance. A lot of inactivity, both when he was able to get the takedowns and just really didn't throw that much on the feet either. And the same with Rubio in that aspect. But I do think Quinones will have the activity and also the wrestling advantage in this fight to be able to pull out maybe a finish. But I'm favoring, like what you said, Jed, a unanimous decision.
This is a tough one just because, Diego Rivas has been out so long. He hasn't been active. I mean, he made his debut at the end of 2014 in the UFC, and then he went all the way till February 2016, and then he, of course, had the cancer and had to fight Dash and all that. So he's been out. He's had 2 fights in almost 3 years. So that's worrisome, but I have a slight feeling. My gut feeling is that that'll be mostly for the better, that as a young guy like Rivas, he's getting better. He also, since recently, earlier this year, he joined Team Oyami. He made the move to the States full-time, living in California. and training, of course, with Oyama and all those guys. So big move there. I don't know where Kanoda is training, but I like to think, because I haven't heard anything, I like to think he's still training just at whatever, a small gym or whatever, where Rivas training at one of the better gyms, or one of the more well-known gyms, definitely in California. I like his power in this fight. I've never been that impressed with Jose Canotas, if I'm being solely honest. I don't see much in him. Like, I mean, there's a reason he hasn't gone far, and he's been in the UFC for almost 3 years. I guess a lot of the inactivity has also been a factor there. He only has 3 fights since that UFC 180 November 2014 card, which Rivas was also on. He has looked all right lately. His last win, September 2016, over Joey Gomez, actually a decent fight. That was pretty back and forth and fun. And before that, he beat Leonardo Morales, first round sub. I mean, he's been doing all right. He's just, I never remember the guy. I just remember the guy who lost on Tough at the Tough finals. I'm going the upset here. Diego Rivas. I know he's inactive. I know Canona's. I think Rivas is the better striker, and I think he just needs to get over that not doing anything during his fights. I think if he does, I think he lands the better shots, and let's go. He knocks out Jose Canotas. That's solely just because Rivas is coming off knock of the year. Probably the case. But I think Rivas is getting better. He's a bit younger. Give me Diego Rivas by TKO in the second round. Moving on, Henry Briones taking on Haniaya in a bantamweight matchup. Jed, are you going to go with Henry Briones from Mexico or Haniaya from Brazil?
You want to know something that's insane? Haniaya is 32.
Wow.
Isn't that fucking wild? Dude, he has been competing under a Zuffa banner for 10 years, for a fucking decade. He's started fighting for the WEC in 2007. I just looked it up. Like, he has had one of those kind of secretly amazing careers because he's never even sniffed a title shot, but he's also never really been close to being, like, released. Like, he just consistently chips up against the middle to low tier guys, and every once in a while gets knocked off, a good little run by an elite fighter, Joseph Benavidez. Like, here is losses as far as since the WEC days go. Chase Beebe, a loss to Kid Yamamoto in K1, Joseph Benavidez, Takeo Mizugaki, Chad Mendez, Tom Ninamaki, a split decision that was a very arguable, and then lost to Joe Soto in his last outage. Like, he has secretly just been putting in work for a fucking decade. So all due respect to Haniaya, because that's fucking awesome. As far as Enrique Briones goes, Enrique Briones doesn't win fights. So to me, this seems pretty it feels like he hasn't won a fight in ever. I just don't even recall him winning. So it's pretty simple to me. Also factor in, it's beating Haniaya is a pretty straightforward thing. You just kind of don't get taken down and you will probably beat Haniaya. Although he has improved on the feet in general, he's more with his willingness to throw and stuff. It's sort of the Demian Maia kind of school of fighting. Like, okay, if I can defend this, I have a really good chance at winning. So anybody has a good chance at winning, but saying that and doing it are very different. And Henry Briones kind of sucks as a defensive wrestler. So Haniaya gonna take him down, and I think that he will probably get a finish here. Maybe soften him up with strikes and then latch onto a choke. I'll say third round submission.
I'm thinking the same thing as you, man. I'm kind of baffled the fact that Hani's 32. Yeah, 32.
Nuts, right?
I kid you not, and I feel bad, but I thought this dude was closer to 40, 41.
Absolutely, 100%.
I've never checked, but I've always thought he was old. Just because, like you said, he's been around for years.
That's why I looked at his age. So I was like, dude, Haniaya is coming off that Joe Soto loss, which he's actually relatively competitive against a guy who I have a lot of respect for, but he's got to be getting old. And then I looked and was like, holy fuck, he's 4 years younger than Enrique Briones. Are you kidding me?
And Soto's literally just 2 years younger than Hani. That's just ridiculous. Man. Yeah, I mean, you saying that, it makes me a little more confident in Yaya. I mean, yeah, he hasn't really fought in extremely a lot recently. I mean, his last fight was His last victory, I'll say, was September 2016 over Michinori Tanaka. But you mentioned that he picks up wins over pretty much the mid-tier competition, but impressively in doing so. Matthew Lopez, I do think he came in maybe on short notice, and I think he was on Dana White's or looking for a fight, but pretty much dominated in that fight too. And Lopez has shown some impressive skills since being there. Was able to pull off a decision over Kanehara on a streak before his loss to Soto, and then had a win after the no contest over Johnny Bedford, a second-round finish, which I think might have been a guillotine. Man, Hani just keeps putting in work, and I'm really impressed with his skill set too. He's, I mean, extremely, extremely talented in jiu-jitsu. I think that that's going to be the area that we see him excel in. Henry Briones' only win came in the UFC back in 2014. He's fought once each year in 3 UFC fights, and it was a win over Guido Canetti. Another reason I'm more confident in Hani Yahya, he's attempted 119 takedowns in his WEC and UFC career, which is it's a big number. Maybe it could be more for a guy that kind of specializes in that, but he's landed 41 of them. Henry Briones, as you mentioned, not the best defensive wrestler. And once Hani gets you down, I mean, he's pretty good at mixing in some ground and pound, but also finding those submissions. I don't think Henry Briones is going to be able to win this fight, seeing the fact that Cody Garbrandt was able to take him down 3 times in their fight. I think that Hani Yahya might be a little bit better with the wrestling department, and that was Cody back earlier in his UFC career back in 2015 of July. I'm going to be picking Hani Yahya on this one. I think he gets – I actually picked a second-round submission, probably by like a rear naked choke. I think what we'll see is him be able to take it down, Henry try to scramble up to the feet, and Yahya just with his fantastic skills on the mat just is able to capture the neck and get the finish.
Yeah, I'm going to complete the hat trick here and go Hani Yahya. It is a bit surprising. I'll say it as like you guys that he's 32. That is incredible. And to think that Briones is older than him is even more so very surprising. Briones, if he keeps him on the feet, he's actually a decent boxer. The guy is super, super tough. And just that can beat Yahya on the feet. But I'm not that confident in Briones to keep it on the feet. And therefore, I think the poor man's Damian Maia gets the job done. Hani Yahya, somewhat similar to Damian Maia in the sense that if he gets you down, you might get up, but you might need a little luck on your side. The guy is very, very good on the ground, and I think once he does get Briones down, I think that's just kind of the beginning of the end. He's not quite like Maia, where he does a lot more top control, and in the sense that he seems to wait a bit more. It's not like when Maia gets you down, it's almost over. Where Yahya, you can actually survive with Yahya on top of you, but you're probably still not escaping that dominant position or whatever. So, I'm going Yahya. I can't say I'm super, super confident, but I think he does get the job done. I will go 3rd round submission. Although his cardio is a bit of an issue 3rd round, he doesn't have fantastic gas tank, but I'm still picking him 3rd round submission over Henry Briones. Next up, we got one of the better fights on the card: Dustin Ortiz versus Hector Kid Alex Sandoval in the flyweight division. Jed, are you going to go with the slight favorite here in the American or Team Alpha Male Zone, Hector Sandoval?
This is honestly, arguably like the 2nd best fight on the card, which should tell you kind of a lot about this card in general. But I do think this is really.
They're both in the flyweight division, so
well, of course,
Dana,
the flyweight division is fucking dope. I don't know what you just said, but the flyweight division is dope. I don't know. This is a really close fight. This is a pretty hard fight for me to call. I know people think MMA math is stupid, and I understand that reasonably it is, but at the same time, I still often feel like it is a sort of indicative of things. And MMA math tells us that Dustin Ortiz knocked out Willie Gates, who knocked out Hector Sandoval with the quickness, and Dustin Ortiz went to a decision against Wilson Hayes, and Wilson Hayes tapped out Hector Sandoval in just instant fashion. Like, that was that 201 Wilson Hayes, who was charging his way to a title defeat and just blew through Hector Sandoval like it wasn't nothing. But when I consider the fight in a little more detail, I think Hector Sandoval can win this. Like, I don't know. He's he's not a bad striker. Dustin Ortiz is certainly not a great striker. Dustin Ortiz may be a little bit ahead in the scrambles in general, but Hector Sandoval is a pretty good defender of takedowns. So, like, it's going to be harder for Ortiz to effectuate a wrestling game against him. Whereas I think maybe, Ortiz isn't a great wrestler himself. So I think maybe Sandoval can take him down. I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I'm going to tell you I'm picking Dustin Ortiz here. And the ultimate reason, and this is going to sound stupid as shit, but it legitimately is why I'm picking him, is in a fight that's this close, Dustin Ortiz has a habit of winning split decisions. He's gone to split decision 4 times in his career. He has won 3 of them, as I believe that is accurate. Taking split decision wins over Scoggins, Borg, and Makovsky, although the Makovsky shouldn't have been a split decision. I'm not really sure how that happened, but just, he seems to have the ability to win these close fights, and Hector Sandoval, hasn't proved that to me yet. I could see Hector Sandoval winning. I almost want to go with the upset pick, but I'm just going to pick Dustin Ortiz.
I've been back and forth on this one too. I agree. I think this will be one of the better fights that we see. If I recall, I feel like a lot of Dustin Ortiz's split decisions, except the Zach Makovsky one, I thought Ortiz decisively won that one. I actually had them all scored backwards. I thought John Moraga beat Dustin Ortiz when they fought, and then I thought Borg and Scoggins both beat Dustin Ortiz when they fought him. So that, kind of switches it around, but Dustin Ortiz, as he mentioned, is able to get those close fights and when he needs them. Willie Gates had a couple moments early on in the first round, but besides that, Dustin Ortiz took over and was able to control. But a lot of the fights that Dustin Ortiz loses are fights that he gets taken down and pretty much gets grinded out, and he's not able to reverse the position to get on top. And Dustin Ortiz wins a lot of his fights, and I say a lot, but pretty much most of his fights when he's able to keep it standing. But that's kind of comes with a little controversy, because in the last fight, Brandon Moreno was able to hit him with the head kick, the left high kick, which sent Dustin Ortiz down before Moreno was able to get the submission. So I'm a little worried in picking Ortiz, and I feel like with Hector Sandoval right now, he's riding a 2-fight win streak. He did fight Wilson Hayes and was submitted in the first round pretty early on after getting taken down quite a bit, but he showed ability to stand up really quick after getting taken down. And also, I think he took the fight on like 10 days notice after Wilson Hayes was supposed to fight Demetrius and then got like another opponent, and then that opponent didn't pass medicals or something like that, and then they threw Hector Sandoval in. So props to Sandoval for pretty much hopping into what was going to be a title fight for Hayes, probably the hardest train Hayes had ever been until that rematch was scheduled. But he did take it on short notice and get choked out. And credit to him, that's only the third. His losses are to the best of the best. I mean, I say that, but there's some of the more top-tier flyweights. Willie Gates is the other one, even though he didn't really have a great UFC run, still a pretty decent fighter. And then Ulysses Gomez, who had a couple moments, I think, no, I'm wrong. I thought he beat Phil Harris, but he didn't. He lost to Phil Harris, and John Moraga lost to him. But still, I mean, fighters with names.
Ulysses Gomez was also his debut.
Exactly. Yeah, like his first ever fight. And, I mean, it was early in Gomez's career, but still, Gomez did have a pretty decent run before he got on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC. I'm going to take Hector Sandoval on this one. I think his offensive wrestling is going to be a little more superior than maybe the striking ability of Dustin Ortiz. I also think that Hector Sandoval packs a little bit more power in his punches, and maybe he can implement that over Dustin Ortiz. So I'm going to take I'm going to take Hector Sandoval to get a decision, probably a close one like you said, but I'm going the other way, opposite of you, and pick Sandoval over Dustin Ortiz.
Ooh, exciting dissension. Break the tie for us, Nicholas. The first time you'll be breaking the tie.
And this is a really, really tough one. Up until now, I've been thinking Dustin Ortiz, but I'm really freaking tempted to pick Hector Sandoval here. I mean, the guy can crack, and overall, he's a good fighter. He's not he's not top 10, I don't think, quite yet, but he's young, I believe. He's how old is he? Yeah. Oh no, 31. That's actually getting up there as far as new fighters in the UFC goes. Coming off the win over Max Schnell, that was an impressive performance. Before that, the win over Freddie Serrano was a bit weird because he looked so good early on, and then as the fight went on, it was less and less of an impressive performance. And before that, he got tapped up by Wilson Hayes, but that was on short notice against one of the best flyweights in the world. I'm going to give the nod, I think, to Dustin Ortiz. He's been there with the better fighters. He has more experience. He is age-wise. Is Ortiz younger?
I don't have a fucking clue. Probably.
It doesn't matter, but, you know,
they're
both.
Because Ortiz is 28. Because I know he's, so okay. If Sandoval's 31, then, Ortiz is younger.
So he's ever slightly younger. He has a very slight reach advantage. He is 3 inches taller. Sandoval, I think this is tough. I don't see Ortiz sitting on top of Sandoval for 3 rounds, but Ortiz's striking has gotten better. Sandoval, I think he has a lot of power. I'm not sold on his technique. His boxing's all right. Ortiz, I won't be shocked if Ortiz outpoints him on the feet. And then wrestling, very close fight. Wrestling close, striking is kind of close. I'm going to go Dustin Ortiz, mostly because he has the experience and slightly bigger frame. Sandoval, of course, a lot bulkier. This is tough. He just, pulls off split decisions. Even when he shouldn't be the winner in fights, he gets the job done. I think this will be a close fight. Maybe it has split decision written all over it. Wouldn't be surprised. I'll go Ortiz. Very close fight. Won't be shocked at all if the underdog pulls it off. Someone remind me, the Sandoval win over Serrano, what was Sandoval doing so well early on? Was he boxing him out? No, I think he was taking him down, grinding him out. Yes. Was he not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie Serrano, who's actually secretly a pretty decent wrestler, just is also secretly bad at defensive wrestling. Because Freddie Serrano is a Colombian Olympic alternate or some shit like that. He can actually wrestle a little bit. But he does this thing where his game is really disjointed, and he when he's focused on striking, he can't wrestle for shit, and when he's wrestling, he can't strike for shit. And it was a really close fight, and he almost kind of came back. It was a really fun fight. I think was I at that? I don't even remember when that fight was. I might have been at that event.
You were. That was the 201 card.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 201 because 201 was
Yeah, because Oh no!
201 was Wilson Hayes. Yeah,
yes.
It was the Wilson Hayes.
And Freddie Serrano for Ryan Benoit on that card 201.
Oh yeah, that is right.
So you saw them both, just not against each other.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, but yeah, there you go.
Oh man. All right, screw it. Hector Sandoval, that's my pick. Changing up right now. All right, Hector Sandoval gets the upset over Dustin Ortiz. That is how I see it going. But again, very close. Next up, the last fight, last prelim. Bradley Scott taking on Jack the Joker Hermanson. Jed, you like the bear here from England, or does Jack Hermanson make it 2 in a row?
The Bear's a shitty name. If your name is Brad, your nickname should be Bad. Should be Bad Brad Scott. I don't care. I personally am of the opinion that fighters do not use the pre-nickname nearly often enough. Sugar Rashad Evans is a stupid name because he spells it stupidly, but I respect that it's beforehand. I've always thought Dominic Cruz, that the Dominator is the dumbest nickname I've ever heard, and he should just be Dominic Cruz. Be amazing. And if your name is fucking Brad, you should just be Bad Brad. Bad Brad Blackburn. Whoever the fuck you are, just do that. You're Bad Brad Scott. And it would be very fitting because Brad Scott is actually bad at fighting. So, because of that, I have always liked Jack Hermanson more than most, I think, and I don't think a whole ton of a lot of Brad Scott, who I believe lost to Scott Askham despite what 2 of the judges opined on that evening. Moreover, I don't really know his avenues to victory here. Jack Hermanson is a better striker who throws more volume and has much better defense, and Brad Scott is a solid defender of takedowns, but not a great offensive wrestler. And Jack Hermanson can defensively wrestle. So I just don't know what he's going to do here other than be on the wrong end of a bunch of volume and lose a decision, much like many of his other decision losses. So, give me Jack Hermanson on points.
And I'll say what I said in the chat, just like what you said. I think instead of Jack the Joker Hermanson, it should be Black Jack Hermanson. I mean, it works so much better.
I don't hate it. I'm just saying I don't hate it.
I would love it. I mean, I think that would be just a clever nickname, just like you said, with Bad Brad versus Black Jack. I like that. How awesome would that be? But instead, they're doing their own little thing, and I guess don't really like our opinions. But
MMA fighters are a special level of awful at nicknaming themselves.
Based in 25-8, am I right?
No, that's fantastic. That's an amazing nickname.
No, that's a fantastic
I'll hear no argument against fucking, except for then he did some, whatever he is, like
overtime.
Overtime.
Yeah, that's why he got knocked out by Jimmy Manuwa. Shouldn't have changed it.
You're not wrong.
I think that's what hurts, but I agree. I don't think Brad Scott's really the best fighter. I feel like the only areas that he really excels are when he's able to get the fight down to the ground. Jack Hermanson's a pretty fantastic striker, has a lot of power in his hands. The fight that he had with Cesar Ferreira, I don't know if he took that on short notice or not. I feel like he might have. I may be wrong, but I'm actually going to check as we talk just to see. I'm wrong, but that was only Jack Hermanson's second fight in the UFC. Wasn't able to capitalize on landing of that weaker chin that Mutante has. But Jack Hermanson shows pretty decent cardio as well in his fights. If you remember the Scott Askham fight, kind of took him a little bit of time to find his rhythm, but in the second and third round excelled quite a bit, was able to capitalize and get that decision victory with a very strong end of the fight, which actually was Scott Askham's last fight. Or no. Actually, both of them, I guess, have wins. Yeah, Scott versus Brad Scott. Scott Askham versus Brad Scott, and then before that it was Hermanson. But I'm going to stick with what I initially have, and that is Jack Hermansson. I think that Brad Scott's only path to victory is taking this fight down to the ground, and I don't see that happening. I trust Hermansson's defensive abilities against a guy who's not really as offensively talented as Cesar Ferreira, and I'm going to pick Hermansson by second round finish. I think he'll be the first person to stop. If I'm right, let me check real quick so I'm not wrong. With Brad Scott, let's see. Yep, I guess the first person was strikes to stop. It's a little risky knowing that Robert Whitaker and Krzysztof Jotko both couldn't finish him, but I do think at some point it's going to catch up to him. I mean, you can say, some fighters don't get knocked out, but then all of a sudden they do by fighters that you wouldn't expect. So I'm going to take Jack Hermansson by second round TKO over Bradley Scott.
My pick here is Jack Hermansson as well. Brad Scott's not a bad fighter, but Hermansson's just better. I don't really know how Scott can win. His best path to victory, and probably his only path to victory, is getting Hermansson down and making it look a lot like the Cesar Ferreira fight. But I just don't think, Ferreira is a really strong fighter. I just don't think Scott has the strength to do it. I don't think he has the wrestling ability. I don't think he has the grappling ability. I just don't think he's good enough to do what Mutante did a couple fights back. Hermansson, quite a bit better on the feet. And if he keeps it standing, I think it's Hermansson all day. So I'm going to keep this pretty brief. I like the Joker here. I don't know if he finishes Brad Scott. Scott is incredibly tough. I'll go Hermansson by the decision. I think it'll be, I'm not going to say lopsided, but I think it'll be a clear-cut win. I don't think we're going to see, a split or whatever. And Scott might have his moments. Maybe he gets Hermansson down. Maybe. But if he doesn't, Hermansson all day. So my pick here is the Swede by unanimous decision. First fight on the FS16 fight main card at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We have tough Latin America winner, maybe? I can't remember. I think he did win.
He won season
Alejandro,
one.
What's that?
He won season one. He beat Quinones. We're just talking about this dude.
When it comes to tough and specifically Latin America, goes in one ear, out the other. So forgive me. Alejandro Perez taking on Andre Sukumta. Jed, who's the pick? And shut up with the racist accusations.
You just said that you don't give a shit about tough Latin America. So I'm just saying.
That's right. I don't give a shit about any tough, if we're being honest.
That's not what you said. I don't give a fuck about this fight. Wes, you talk first because I don't have any idea what I'm going to say.
Oh, shoot. Neither do I, but I'll try to make up something as we get on.
Putting Wes in the spot, that's awesome.
That's all right. I mean, I still like Sukumta. He wasn't able to get the nod in that first fight that he had because Sukumta makes quite a bit of careless decisions, and Morales was able to capitalize on a lot of those decisions that he was making. Morales, he's been kind of inconsistent though in the UFC. Sukumta did have a pretty impressive CES run where he was the bantamweight champion over there. But besides Albert Morales, that loss, he's got a loss to Brian Kelleher, and he's got a couple good wins. Blair Tugman, kind of earlier on in his career. Cody Norby, who was a pretty good fighter. He's got some notable wins on there. But Alejandro Perez, he's been around the UFC. I'm kind of baffled, to be honest, that he's been able to put together some of the victories because I remember when he got guillotine choked by Patrick Williams, who I saw got knocked out by a flying knee, and by Chris Beal, who's not in the UFC. I was like, I don't really know how Perez is going to be able to handle himself, knowing the fact that he did have a loss to Quinones before they were in the UFC, and now he was able to win on the Season of Tough Latin America, but got a victory by ankle injury over Scott Jorgensen in a fight that he actually did look pretty good in. And Ian Entwistle, who's very one-dimensional, had that draw versus Albert Morales in their last fight. Seeing the fact, I mean, Jed, you mentioned it before, MMA math, Perez was able to go to that majority draw.
Entwistle versus Albert Morales? Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Wait, Entwistle versus Albert Morales? Oh, no, I'm talking about Perez versus Ian Entwistle.
I'm so confused, but go on. Oh, yes. I recall.
That's all right. Perez, yeah, he was able to get a victory over the one-dimensionalness of Ian Entwistle. But a little bit of MMA math, Perez was able to capitalize pretty decent in their fight with Albert Morales, despite getting, I think, a point deducted. So he should have won that fight, but I think he was a little careless in what he was doing. And he hit Morales after the end of the second round, a little bit dirty in that one, I think. And Morales was able to get a split decision victory over Andre Sukumta, but has a draw. Let's see. I'm trying to check it out too because now I'm a little confused. Alejandro Perez had a draw. Forget it. I'm confusing myself.
It was a draw over Albert Morales, and then
one doesn't draw over somebody. You just draw with them.
Whatever. All right.
Yeah.
One scorecard.
All right. I saw majority. Whatever.
What's your pick?
Forget it.
Enough of both the records. We can go look on a Sherdog.
That's what happens when I get put on short notice. No, I just they fought pretty similar competition to the UFC. That's why I'm a little confused. But my pick in the end is going to be. We're going to go, let's see. I want to pick Sukumta, but, man, I'm not really too confident in him. I'm going to go Perez. I haven't picked by decision. I think maybe having that just some more people cheering him on may be the advantage in this one. Andre Sukumta, I'm not really sure. Seeing the fact that I feel like this is maybe a little bit of a pretty similarity or maybe a step up in competition, but I'm going to pick Perez by a unanimous decision.
Well, Albert Morales had won a scorecard out of the three over Alejandro Perez. So clearly this is a step down.
Morales should have won the fight over Perez.
Yes.
In general, and Sukumta also should have lost a clean decision, not a split. But I'm glad I made you talk first, Wes, because you convinced me of who to pick. Because you said something at the very end. I agree with the rest of your assessment. Very close fight. It's close because neither of these guys are really great. For being honest, let's just call it like it is. But hometown, one of these dudes is Mexican and fighting in Mexico, and that I think that still counts for something in general. If only because the crowd is going to be on his side, so every strike he throws they're gonna be, and the judges are going to listen to it and be swayed by that. Plus, he's going to have a little more chutzpah. He's going to care a little more. I think it's a close fight, but that the hometown will sway it in Perez's favor for me. Plus, I mean, just the fact that he has, I don't know, he's got a half dozen fights in the UFC, and Sukumta's one, maybe two. I'm not entirely sure, just one. Yeah. So give me Perez on points, maybe even a split decision.
I'm going with the very slight underdog here, Andre the Asian sensation Sukumta. I know Perez has the UFC experience, but he goes on The Ultimate Fighter, and I seem to be just...
You can only pick him if you can spell his name right now.
Okay, I'm not looking. Soukhamthath.
Way to go. Good. Just round of applause for I'm taking
Pretty
it at your
impressive.
word. That's pretty good
All right.
work.
All right, now joining him, J check, go.
JEDRZEJCZYK.
No.
I have to write it out to see.
That sounds right.
You
I have to
you
write
missed
it
the
out. Hold
D
on.
somewhere. I was looking for that D and I didn't get it. So
No, it's a JED. I never fuck up the beginning of her name because it's mine.
No. The other one.
There are not two D's in her name.
Are there really not?
Oh, it's
Oh,
JEDRZEJCZYK.
yes.
I had it. Suck it. That's one name I can do because I've had to spell it so
Did you
fucking
say
much.
ZZ or is that just how Americans say Z?
Oh, it's how that's how Americans say Z. It's how people say Z, you dumbass. You Canadians with your bullshit
I'm
letters.
surprised a man named Jed doesn't say Z, but all right.
I don't say it because it's not the letter. The letter is Z.
It is absolutely Z. End of discussion.
Zed is a fucking hillbilly up in the woods, probably up near West in Virginia somewhere, shooting guns. That's who Zed is. Zed is not a letter of the alphabet.
Man, you're in Georgia. Don't
I know I'm actually way more hillbilly than Wes is.
Yeah, don't put the blame on Wesley Riddle here. You can go out your front door and just yell for Zed, and there are going to be multiple people running to your doorstep. I can promise you that.
My name's Jed. It's hard for me to talk shit about hillbillies.
Yeah. Well, all right. Back to Andre Sukumta, who somehow kicked off a spelling bee and then an argument about hillbillies. I like Andre Sukumta here. I think he's a better man on the feet. I think Perez has the grappling advantage. Wherever the fight goes is how it's going to take place. I don't have too much faith in Perez getting it down. He's seemed pretty content with striking a lot of his last fights. Sukumta, I just think, fights from better angles, hits slightly harder. I've never been that impressed with Alejandro Perez. That win over Patrick Williams, I always have to bring it up. Or, the loss to Patrick Williams, always have to bring it up. That was really fantastic because on this show, when that happened so long ago, before you guys were a thing, I did the show, believe it or not, with two other people. They were called Go Paulo and Daniel Levy, and both of them were so confident in Alejandro Perez to beat Pat Williams. I picked Patrick Williams inside the distance, and Daniel said, one does not let a friend bet on Patrick Williams or whatever, and I proved them wrong. I'll never forget that. I know it's a prelim fight. I know no one cares about it, and I know Patrick Williams is fighting for his career soon, but that always will have a spot in my heart. So, back to this fight. Andre Sukumta gets the win, outpoints Perez. Decision, that is my pick. Let's move on to a fantastic middleweight matchup between Smiling Sam Alvey and Sugar Rashad Evans, Jed, Hillbilly, Zed, whatever you want to be called, Evans or Smiling Sam.
I mean, since I was talking about earlier, I almost want to pick Rashad Evans just because he does have the first name nickname. It's a special place in my heart. But if you pick Rashad Evans to win a fight in the year of our Lord 2017, you're an idiot. Straight up. I hope one of you is about to be an idiot because I will tell you to your face you're fucking dumb. You just can't, I don't know how anyone could possibly be confident that Rashad Evans is going to win a fight, to do the things that are necessary to win a fight, to look like he's engaged or gives any type of a shit in the cage or even remembers how to fight. It's just when, be honest with yourself. When was the last time Rashad Evans looked good?
Chael Sonnen?
Yeah.
No.
Chael Sonnen.
That was just
I guess in a way.
That was definitely the last time he looked good.
GSP has fought since that fight.
Yeah, exactly. It was 13?
November 2013.
Yeah, exactly.
UFC 167.
That was the last time he looked good. And even before then, he still had some puzzling shows. He won a split decision to Dan Henderson.
That was in Winnipeg. Winnipeg deserved that fight because Winnipeg's a trash city and we got a trash fight.
You are a trash shitty. And then lost to Antonio lost to Little Nog literally because he just refused to fight him. Like, he just refused to do a goddamn thing. Little Nog, who is washed as all get out, somehow compete Rashad Evans. Like, he hasn't looked good in forever. I know the drop to middleweight he hoped would revitalize his career, but yeah, that hadn't worked out super hot for him so far, and I can't pick him. Like, there's just no way I can go, yeah. Like, Rashad Evans is a more skilled fighter than Sam Alvey, 100%. Never argue against it, but is he going to fight? Probably not, because he hasn't done it in almost 5 fucking years since the last time we saw him try in a cage. So, yeah, if he tries, cool, he's going to end up winning, but you're basically betting on lightning to strike twice. Give me Sam. I think Sam Alvey. The crazy thing is when you look at the stats on this, Sam Alvey is a guy that I don't think punches ever because he's just like completely focused on counter striking. He won't effectuate offense outside of somebody else triggering him first. And somehow he has a higher fucking strike ratio than Rashad Evans, which is just baffling. Like, Sam Alvey will go minutes at a time without punching somebody because they won't try and punch him. And somehow Rashad Evans throws less strikes than that. It's incredible. Adding to the fact that Sam Alvey's also a good defender. Like, Sam Alvey's real skills are he's a good counter puncher. He hits very hard, and he's a good defender of takedowns. Rashad Evans isn't really going to be able to take him down, and he's not going to win a fight by staring at Sam Alvey. This is going to be an awful fight, just horrendous to watch. Unless Sam Alvey can land something clean on the face, then maybe it'll at least have a moment of excitement. But this is mostly going to be 15 minutes of a staring contest with Sam Alvey winning by the slightest of margins. Give me Sam Alvey to win a very shitty decision.
And I think this might be one of the more poor fights on the card as well. If Sam Alvey can't land a counter, which he hasn't done in quite a while, I feel like it's just going to be a lot of dancing around from both guys. I was honestly kind of tempted to pick Rashad, and the reasons being are because Rashad pushes forward more, and Sam likes to fight around the outside a little bit more. And because of that, Rashad, since we've seen a lot of inactivity from him, we see him shoot a lot more for takedowns, an area that Alvey kind of struggles with in the clinch positions and when he gets taken down. But also the fact that with Rashad's inactivity on the feet, we may see Sam continuously just not a lot of volume and only looking for counter shots. And then again, if he can't land that counter, then it's just going to be a lot of dancing around. So for that reason, I honestly kind of thought about Rashad because I feel like it's just going to be not really the most entertaining fight, but a lot of the two, Alvey looking for the counters and Rashad looking for the clinch. And besides that, I don't really think we're going to see a lot of activity from either. So I was thinking about Rashad, but I feel like it's just a toss-up because we're going to see two fighters that really just don't do a whole lot in the cage. But Alvey more frequently recently gets finishes, even though they're dependent on counter strikes. I'm gonna pick Sam Alvey by probably just I'd say a split decision. I'll say a split decision. I feel like it's going to be one of those that can go either way. But I do think that Rashad Evans has a chance in this one. Sadly, it's kind of weird saying that, knowing the fact that he hasn't won since 2013. But it's just the stylistic matchup. Even though Rashad did lose to Dan Kelly and Dan Kelly did lose to Sam Alvey, I feel like stylistically this is a fight that could go either way.
Now, Jed, I am your idiot. I am going with Sugar Rashad Evans to get back into the winning column. And hear me out on this. I know Sam Alvey's the favorite over the former UFC light heavyweight champion, which on paper is insane just because Sam Alvey should not be the favorite against a one-time world-class fighter. But unfortunately, Evans isn't too much of a world-class fighter anymore.
It's not insane that a competent middleweight's the favorite over a dude who hasn't looked good in 5 fucking years.
I know. I mean, the thing with this matchup, though, A, it's going to be a staring contest, and B, I am so happy this is on a card I'm missing. This just is not going to be a good fight at all. It's going to be horrendous. It's literally going to be the difference of just a handful of strikes. We're not going to see a slobber knocker where a knockdown's going to decide rounds or whatever. It's literally going to be, Sam Alvey landing 6 punches and Rashad Evans landing 8, and maybe Rashad Evans moving forward because Sam Alvey always has his back up against the fence. And that's how Rashad Evans is going to win. He's going to outpoint Sam Alvey, who literally does nothing, for handfuls of minutes on end. And I know Rashad Evans is quite similar, but I think, as Wes pointed out, Sam Alvey, the counter punch game won't work too well against Evans, I don't think. I think Evans will sort of push the action, and when the striking's that close, being the aggressor actually does count for something. Not a lot, but it does count for something in the judge's eyes. So I like Rashad Evans. I don't like him a lot because you cannot be confident in 2017 Rashad Evans. It's tough to pick him at that, but this is a matchup that I truly think favors him ever so slightly because Sam Alvey, I just don't think he has too much success with the counters, and just the idea that go back and watch the Elias Theodorou fight. Sam Alvey did nothing. Elias Theodorou did very little, but he just did a tiny bit more. This is going to be a similar fight in the sense that Evans is actually technically quite a bit better than Elias, but still is very inactive. Both guys, this makes for a terrible, terrible fight, and one that I do think Evans gets back into the winning column, but it won't be pretty, and it definitely won't convince me that Rashad Evans is back. That would take a bit more than a 30 strike win or whatever. So Rashad Evans by decision in a terrible, terrible fight. Next up, we got Martin Bravo taking on Humberto Bandenet, and it feels just so weird going from Rashad Evans to Martin Bravo and Humberto Bandenet, but we do that anyways. At featherweight, Jed, who you taking?
I don't know who the fuck Humberto Band-Aid is. I don't know, why is this fucking fight on the main card? Anybody have one clue?
No.
The only thing I know about Martin Bravo is when he fought last year at I don't even remember what the card was. I just remember him styling all over that dude.
Claudio Puelles, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's the name. But I don't really remember much beyond that. I don't know a goddamn thing about Humberto Band-Aid. And I don't know
why.
He
trains at Oyama. He moved to Oyama very recently, within the past 2 months or so.
Cool. I know that Colin Oyama is not a bad coach, but
look at Chito Vera. Chito Vera has gotten a lot better since training there.
I just don't. I'm
not saying it will work. I'm not saying I'm picking Bandit.
Colin Oyama. I've just never think about his biggest charges. And look, I'm a big Ian McCall dude, and I don't think Ian McCall even trains there anymore. But and I was a big fan of Ian McCall. But come on, if your best fighters are Carlos Esparza and Ian McCall,
Carlos Esparza was a former champion. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Carlos Esparza was the champion because they did a.
He was a better champion than Jermaine Durandamy.
No, Jermaine Durandamy is the one true undisputed featherweight champion of the world. Go fuck yourself. And 2, Carlos Esparza was the champion because they did a season of Tough. Literally everybody with a brain knew that the actual champion was going to be the winner of the Jędrzejczyk Gadea fight, and that person would fight the winner of the Tough season and then just win the belt, which is exactly what happened. No disrespect
Esparza was
to Carlos
the favorite
Esparza.
over Joanna.
That was idiotic. It was just dumb. Everybody with a brain knew that the real best women were fighting when Gadea and Jędrzejczyk were fighting. And she was. It was awesome. I made money. But yeah, I no disrespect to Carlos Esparza because I thought she won the last fight. But I don't know. The one thing I will say here about old Martin Bravo, his nickname should be Johnny. It's something else that's stupid and I don't care, but he should definitely be Martin Johnny Bravo. That would be cool. And I've seen him fight and he did really well. He's also an enormous favorite over a guy that I think is coming in on short notice. So I think Martin Bravo is going to do really cool things and beat the hell out of Band-Aid. So give me Bravo with a second round TKO.
I am actually looking forward to this one, and it's because after watching a little bit of tape on both of these two, They both like to bring it, and I'm expecting a fight between two fighters that are really definitely looking to scrap on this one. Martin Bravo did win Latin America season 3.
That's how you know he's good.
He won season 3, but I know his coach was Forrest Griffin, was able to get that third round finish over Claudio Puelles, or second round finish, excuse me. Bravo likes to brawl. He's pretty good at combinations to the head and the body. The body punches are what did it pretty much in the fight with Puelles. And the one thing I did notice with him is that he's slower with his striking. He loves to push forward and pretty much be in your face consistently, but his punches come with not a lot of steam behind them, and he's not the best with defensive wrestling. Now, I watched actually tape on Humberto Bendene, and I'm actually going to pick Bendene in this one, and for a couple different reasons. I'm taking a big risk because I feel like maybe I don't know enough about Bravo despite the fact he's undefeated, but I see 13 people – or not 13 people, 87% of people are picking Martin Bravo on UFC Pick'em. Only 13 are picking Bendene. I'm taking just a big risk. But I honestly was kind of impressed with some of the tape. He's pretty tight with the strikes in comparison to Bravo, just a little more tightness. But he's actually very, very quick. He shows quite a bit of speed with punches, a lot more pop. And the biggest problem, though, with Bendene's game is that he fights a lot going backwards. And he pretty much depends quite a bit. He fights southpaw on his left kick, but he lands it quite a bit to the body in the midsection, and it's very, very fast. As I mentioned, he struggles with pressure, but a lot of the times Bendene's only losses have come by fighters that like to get the fight down to the ground and look for submissions. Martin Bravo is not that fighter to do it. I'm expecting these two to stand and bang on the feet, and I think we're going to see Bravo come forward and maybe Bendene land a counter with that the left hand or maybe the left kick because he is pretty fast and is pretty powerful, but I'm actually going to pick Bendene in this one. I'm taking a big risk, but I was kind of impressed with some of the tape I saw on him, and I feel like the speed might play an important factor in getting the victory for him in this fight. Seeing that Bravo is pretty slow, but like I said, taking a risk, I think it'll be a great fight, and I'm going to pick Bendene over Bravo by a second-round stoppage.
I don't know anything about Bandane or Band-Aid or Banana or Bandana, whatever you want to call him. Martin Bravo looked good against Claudio Puelles, and I'll just go off that. He seems I don't care. I just don't care about this fight. I know very little about it. Martin Bravo is undefeated. He has the UFC experience. Bandane, I know, training at Oyama means something. I just don't know how much. I mean, I need to know something about you before I can just, go off that. Martin Bravo, maybe inside the distance. I don't know. I'll say decision. Martin Bravo decision. That is my pick. Next up, we got one of the.
This is exciting. It's the first time that Wes has disagreed with us, Nick. You, Nick, have disagreed many times with me and Wes collectively. And then I once disagreed with you and Wes, but that's the first time me and you are on the same side. And Wes is the lone voice of dissent.
I mean, I hate agreeing with you, so that's no surprise. But at least we agree on like a fight that just does not matter. And if we're wrong or whatever, it's hey, at least it's Martin Bravo and not main event or whatever. Next up, one of the better fights on the card is at welterweight. Alan Brahma Joban taking on Nico, the hybrid Price. Jed, are you going to go with the 15-5 American or the undefeated American?
I mean, undefeated. I guess, yeah, technically he is undefeated. Got that no contest hanging out there, but I don't like to give credit for no contests.
Well, that was a win.
I know, but it's a no contest. But it's a no contest. Just saying, no contest. Because I don't know if you know this. Drugs are bad. I know you're a young kid. You haven't really figured that out yet. Drugs are bad. Don't smoke pot. You can't be doing that, and it gives you an unfair advantage in the cage. So I'm not really willing to give him all the credit for being undefeated here because he has taken a loss. It was to the drug test. Beyond that, though, I don't give a fuck about this fight, frankly. I know you said it was one of the better ones on the card, and I guess
I've said that about every mediocre matchup on this card because the rest are just
it's the card terrible. So I guess it's true. I honestly, I just don't think that much of Nico Price. He's undefeated or whatever. I just don't. I don't He hasn't beaten anybody worth shit. Like who's his best win? Brandon Thatch?
Yeah.
Okay, if this was 2014, that would mean some shit. But then everybody realized, oh, actually Brandon Thatch is terrible at fighting. So if you just take him down, you're gonna choke him out, or you just have a really good chance of doing that. So yeah, I don't know. Whereas Alan Jouban has quietly put together a very good run. Like his losses are mostly to elite guys. Gunny Nelson and Albert Tumanov, those are very talented guys and guys uniquely built. Like I actually picked him, I think, to upset Gunny Nelson, and then that happened. I think Tumanov is a horrible style matchup for him in general, just a better striker. But I've been impressed with Jouban for a while. I think he's a very solid guy. I give a lot of credit to beating Mike Perry. I think Mike Perry is a really, really talented fighter. And regardless of what you feel about him personally, I think Mike Perry is not long for to be outside of the top 10, 15 at the division. So it's a big win for Jouban. I think that he is just going to outwork Nico Price on the feet. I think he's a little cleaner. I think he throws a lot more volume. Maybe not as sharp defensively. I'm not sure. But yeah, just the volume and the fact that Nico is going to take 2 punches for every one he lands back, and that's just points on the judges' scorecards. Give me Jouban by decision.
I changed my pick in this one, and I never had picked Price, but I changed my pick from Alan Jouban decision to a finish. I was watching Nico Price's fight with Alex Moreno just now a little bit more, just to kind of clarify, but also I watched a little earlier. Alex Moreno, I thought he lost to Kyle Noak, who had an awful pretty much end to his career, just his last couple of fights. And then his other win was over James Montessori, who just never really had a great UFC run. I think he pulled a couple wins out of his hat, but he was not really the greatest fighter. Alex Moreno actually dropped Nico Price twice in that fight. And I feel like a lot of people know Alex Moreno for decisioning quite a bit of fighters, but he does have some knockout victories on his resume. But still, in comparison between Alex Moreno and Alan Jouban is a far more superior striker. Very aggressive, has a fantastic clinch. He does tire as the fights progress, as we saw in the Bilal Muhammad fight in the third round, really struggled, and also struggled quite a bit with the pressure of Gunnar Nelson. But I don't think Nico Price is the best striker in the world, even though he does have some knockout victories. He tends to look for the clinch quite a bit in an area that Alan Jouban excels. And also, what was I going to say? Nico Price, as I mentioned, he's been dropped a couple times, but he's very slow with his striking, not really the most technical. Alan Jouban is very, very technical with his punches when he's able is to put you up against the cage. I like Alan Jouban quite a bit in this one, actually. I think he's going to be able to possibly get a stoppage victory. Not 100% sure, but after seeing Price struggle a little bit with his striking of Thatch early on in their fight, and also quite a bit in the first round of the Alex Moreno fight, I'm going to favor Alan Jouban quite a bit in this one. So I picked Jouban by second round stoppage. I think that he might be able to get a finish in this one, but maybe a first was possible too. More than likely a decision, but after seeing Alex Moreno drop Nico Price a couple times, I'm pretty confident in Jouban getting a finish.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, this, at first glance, it looks close. Because you look at Nico Price's record, he's undefeated, no contest, whatever Jed wants to say about that. He beat Alex Moreno, and then Marijuana beat him after that. But Alan Jouban has fought by far the better fighters. He's beat, Bilal Muhammad, Mike Perry, and he's only lost to really good guys. Albert Tumanov and Gunnar Nelson, and before that it was Warley Alves. That was a very close fight. Most people scored it for Jouban. So the guy on paper at first glance it looks close, but then you look at Price's record versus Jouban's, and Jouban is just much better. Price has beaten Alex Moreno and Brandon Thatch, two guys that I just don't think much of at all. Alan Jouban, his fundamentals are so much stronger. I think he's the more technical striker. I think if Price could catch him, but Jouban has mostly just as much power. Price is a bit crafty on the mat, but Jouban should be able to keep it standing where he has an advantage. I like Jouban here. I'm not too confident in Price's chin. I wasn't at first thinking Jouban would maul him as much as I now think he will, but I am going to go Jouban by second round TKO. So it'll go exactly what Wes said in that main event, main card welterweight fight. Next up, the co-main event of the evening, believe it or not, we got Randa Markos and Alexa Grasso. Markos, quiet storm. She's, of course, a adopted Canadian, 7-5, coming off a win over former UFC champion Carla Esparza, although controversial decision. Most people scored it for Esparza. Alexa Grasso, very hyped coming in from Invicta, hasn't quite lived up to expectations. She had the win in her debut. I don't recall who against, but she came up short in her last fight. It was against Felice Herrig. Quite surprising result in February of this year. Jed, are you going to go with the slight favorite here, Alexa Grasso, or do you think Randa Markos can pull this one off?
Yeah, I'm going Grasso. Markos lost to Carla Esparza, and I'm not sure how judges gave that fight for. I thought she won the first round, lost the back two, and it should have been pretty simple to score that. Grasso is still 23 years old. I know we want to pretend like she's bombed as a prospect or whatever. She's 23 years old and lost to Felice Herrig, who has secretly turned into like a way better fighter than anybody thought she was going to be. And just has like Felice Herrig has fucking looked good like for the last 2 years or whatever. So I don't basically Felice Herrig has looked good since just getting her ass handed to her by Paige Van Zandt. And I mean, some of that is the fact that she fought Kaylin Curran and Justine Kish, but Alexa Grasso is a legit win. I think we shouldn't hold that over Grasso, who is still young, still improving. Randa Markos, I just don't know what she's going to do here to Grasso. I think one of y'all is going to end up picking Markos here, maybe both. And I'm okay being on this island if I'm by myself, but Grasso is more active on the feet, probably a little better. Randa Markos has a way of fighting dirty and making it a little closer than it should be, but she can't take down Grasso, and if she doesn't really have the threat of the takedown, I think she's way less likely to be able to have a functioning striking game in general. And her successes against Carla Esparza came because Carla Esparza is so limited as a striker and so small. Like Carla Esparza is really an atom weight masquerading as a 115er. So like that size difference is not going to be a play here. If anything, Grasso might be a little bit bigger, honestly, than Randa Markos. And I just don't know what Markos is going to do here. I think she's going to come up a little bit worse on all the exchanges. If Grasso really wants to, Grasso can probably get a takedown or two. And I don't think Markos is going to have any success with that. So give me Grasso on points.
Yeah, I actually did have Randa Markos at first, but I kind of rethought it a little bit. The bigger thing that I noticed is that Alexa Grasso in her last fight, Felice Herrig was definitely the biggest name she ever fought. And Felice Herrig is no slouch. I think a lot of people counted her out in that one. I did pick Grasso in that, but Felice did surprise me quite a bit. Also, I'd like to say that Grasso, she's going to be fighting in front of a lot of people that are going to be cheering her on. In the last fight, she fought Felice Herrig in Houston, Texas, where a lot of people were actually cheering probably Felice Herrig on. So I feel like it's just a little bit different. Maybe Grasso is going to be able to have that advantage just a little bit when it comes to the scorecards. You never know. But I do like Alexa Grasso on this one. Sometimes the pressure seems to phase her, and Randa Markos is actually pretty good at implementing that. But Grasso, when she puts together combinations or when she's able to slip in counters, that's where she excels. And Randa Markos, she's pretty inconsistent with her record. I mean, I thought she lost to Carla Esparza pretty clearly, and I think her record should be 6-5. But she's pretty much due for a loss. If you look at her record, she's gone win-loss since 2014. She's got a lot of footwork that she implements, but sometimes she doesn't throw a lot. She kind of leans in, fights with her arms long and out, and then she'll throw a big looping right hand with her arms out wide. And she's pretty good at trips, but I mean, we've seen Alexa Grasso keep it on the feet. I feel like that's an area that she struggled with against Felice Herrig the most. Grasso was able to land a lot more strikes, though. I'm going to be picking Grasso. I did change my pick. I did have Randa Markos at first, but I think that the hometown is going to help a little bit with Grasso in this one. I like the age. I think that maybe, even though she's still pretty young, I think that she's got a pretty decent skill set. I think she just needs to work on a couple different things, and I think the areas that she excels in are weaknesses of Randa Markos, and I think that the areas that we've seen her struggle in, I think the fighters that she's fought are just a little bit better at this day and age, even though Randa Marcos did beat Felice Herrig back on their season of Tough. But I'm going to be picking Alexa Grasso over Randa Marcos in a very close fight. I think it'll be pretty competitive. I think we might see a lot of it on the feet. I think Randa Marcos, though, has a path to victory if she can get this fight down to the ground. But I'm going to be picking Grasso by a decision.
Well, I am back on an island on my own. I'm going with the slight underdog here. I've actually picked a number of underdogs on this card. It is Randa Marcos is my pick here. I think Alexa Grasso in the future is a fighter to look out for. I think she is a good talent. I think she is still incredibly green, and I just can't pick her against a legitimate, top 15. I think she's maybe top 15, but not much more than that right now. Randa Marcos, I know she's been up and down, very inconsistent, and history shows that she's actually should lose here. And, she has a very good chance of losing. It's a very close fight. Could go either way. If Grasso is able to keep this one standing and keep her space, she should quite clearly outpoint Randa Marcos, who doesn't have tons and tons on the feet. But I think I just have a feeling Marcos is a bit stronger. I think she is the grittier fighter. She likes to get in, she doesn't brawl, but she's a scrappy fighter or can be. And I think that's where she excels over Grasso. Grasso, she doesn't like, getting really gritty in her fight. She's very, likes her space and stays back, and her striking is great, but once you pressure her, it kind of all falls apart. And I just think Marcos gets it done. I think she has the potential of taking Grasso down. I'm not sure. Grasso has good takedown defense. Marcos, her wrestling is good, not fantastic. She's kind of decent everywhere. I think her clinch game's all right. I think, it's not fantastic, but I think she can do well in the clinch against Grasso. It's going to be close. The judges seem to like Marcos. I think she narrowly outpoints Grasso. I think this will be another performance from Grasso where we see, we see, there's flashes of greatness, but it's just not all there. A lot more training, a bit of, years, more, give her a few more years of experience, and I think she can be a force in the strawweight division, but I don't think now is quite her time. I like Randa Marcos here, not by a lot, but I do like her by decision. That brings us to the main event. Flyweight Sergio Pettis taking on Brandon, the Assassin Baby Moreno. Number 6, number 7. Jed, are you going with the 15-2 little brother of former UFC lightweight champ Anthony Pettis from the States, from the USA, or does Brandon Moreno keep the train rolling and extend his record to 15-3?
I really, really want to take Sergio Pettis, in part because, honestly, I think he's probably a better fighter than his older brother. I do. I've been sitting on that take for a while. I might have even mentioned it the last time he fought, where I was just like, I think Sergio Pettis gets, by when all things are all said and done, he won't have the career his brother did, because his brother was the title holder in the best division in the sport and in the history of the sport, and that means something. His brother also gave us literally the coolest highlight in any sport I've ever seen in my entire life. So Sergio's not going to have those type of highs, but I think that he will just be a better fighter than Anthony Pettis is. I think that he's shown a more adaptability to his skill set and just more improvement. And I say all of that, and I don't think I can pick him. I'm trying to talk myself into it. Maybe by the time I get to the end of these words, I'll have done it, but I can't. In general, the thing is, he's still a Rufus Sport guy, and I think very little of that gym in general. And their sort of complete inability to understand grappling, and how it plays in mixed martial arts in general. And Brandon Moreno, what he does very well, he does many things very well, but goddamn, he is a friggin' killer on the mats, man. And he's a kid who just fucking came out of nowhere. He kind of bombed out of Tough. And then
he
suddenly,
was the 16th seed.
Yeah, he was a 16th seed, and he lost to didn't he lose to Pantoja in the house?
Yes.
Yeah, lost to Pantoja, who was the number 1 seed, the guy everyone pegged to win it. but then like suddenly he just got real good real fast and tapped out Louis Smolka, who was top 10 guy. Took a split decision over Ryan Benoit, and then subbed Dustin Ortiz, who's, you know, a perennially top 15 guy. I was there for the Dustin Ortiz fight. That was in Nashville. I went to that event. Brandon Moreno is also a fucking joy to talk to. Just a hell of a personality. And for me, this kind of comes down to, well, one, MMA math, as we established. Ryan Benoit knocked out Sergio Pettis, and Brandon Moreno beat Ryan Benoit via split decision. So clearly, Brandon Moreno is going to win. But more importantly, it comes down to me that Brandon Moreno is a fucking finisher, and Sergio Pettis is not. I don't know when the last time he finished a fight was, but it was pre his UFC days, certainly. And Brandon Moreno is riding a wave of momentum, and he's going to be in his, you know, home country. And even if Pettis is winning the technical exchanges early, which I sort of expect him to do, Brandon Moreno is bringing a little more power. Brandon Moreno might just land like a head kick like he did to Dustin Ortiz or whatever and shift the momentum entirely. And eventually I think he's going to find the offense that is much more damaging and threatening, and that will shift everything, and suddenly Pettis will be fucked. So I think Pettis will probably be winning up until the point that he loses. But I think it will be even close and competitive in those exchanges and stuff. The pick is Brandon Moreno. I think he might land something heavy on the feet that kind of hurts Sergio Pettis and then get him onto the mat and tap him. I wouldn't honestly just be surprised if he came out, fired off a double, and Sergio spent the whole round on his back before eventually getting tapped either. So the pick is Brandon Moreno by submission, I think, in the second round.
This is a pretty good fight. I think it'll be a pretty decent one depending on where the fight takes place. Sergio Pettis definitely has the technical advantage on the feet, as you mentioned, but Brandon Moreno has the power and kind of the sloppiness in fights that he's able to capitalize with the striking abilities. I don't really trust Sergio Pettis' chin. I feel like that's something just to take note of, that he did get knocked out by Ryan Benoit in a fight that he was up in pretty decisively, but Sergio Pettis, it says on UFC's website, he has a 66% striking defense ratio, but he actually gets hit quite a bit, and when he gets tagged, it's pretty hard. And I remember the John Moraga fight, John was able to actually land a pretty decent amount of strikes kind of earlier on that seemed to not really phase Pettis too much, but they definitely did a little bit of damage noticeably. Nothing that really rocked him, but I do think Brandon Moreno is a heavier puncher than John Moraga. Maybe not as technical, like I said, but definitely those heavier strikes. Sergio Pettis used to rely quite a bit on his grappling and his wrestling, which he still kind of does, very controlling when he gets on top. But Brandon Moreno is very crafty. I feel like one of the more impressive people that we see off his back, and also in different exchanges when he, just being able to reverse different positions and scramble his way to get on top, as we saw in the Louis Smolka fight. I've been back and forth on this one. I think Sergio Pettis definitely has an advantage on the feet, and he could I'd probably favor him in the 5-round fight if it goes past the first 3 rounds. I think Sergio Pettis is a more likely path to victory. Seeing that Brandon Moreno doesn't really have the best cardio, seems to kind of get repetitive as the fight's going later, as we saw in that Ryan Benoit fight. But I guess Moreno did beat Benoit. Benoit beat Sergio, but still, I'm going to go in the end. I didn't want to copy Jed, but I thought maybe you were going to pick Pettis. I actually had Brandon Moreno as well by second-round submission. I like his submission skills. I think that it's an area that Sergio Pettis struggles with. I feel like sometimes Pettis makes a couple careless mistakes here and there, even though he may be the more well-rounded athlete. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. It could be a pretty interesting fight depending on where it takes place, but I do favor Moreno on the mat and in certain different positions that they end up in. But and I think that it'll be pretty similar to the way you said. I think probably Moreno is going to initiate a strike that probably hurts Pettis, knowing that his chin really isn't the best, and capitalize on the submission, pretty similar to what he did to Dustin Ortiz. So I'm going to take Brandon Moreno as well by a second-round finish.
Yeah, this is going to be, or this could be a fun fight. If it goes on, say, to the deep rounds, championship rounds, this could be actually a really fun back-and-forth scrap. But if it ends early, which I ultimately think it will, it's going to be tough. to argue that it'll win fight of the night. Maybe the first round's awesome and the second round, when it maybe ends, it's still great and the rest of the card is terrible, so it wins anyways. But my pick here is Brandon Moreno, and I hate to copy both of you, but I was thinking second round submission. Sergio Pettis is the better striker. I think he's the better boxer. His striking is actually not bad. Like, it's really good. Brandon Moreno improving on the feet. He could land something. Pettis is slightly chinny. We saw that against Ryan Benoit a few years back. Benoit does hit hard, but that's beside the point. I think Moreno, though, he'll probably get kind of chewed up on the feet for a little bit, and then once he's a bit comfortable, and it'll give him a couple minutes, I think he finds his groove. I think he's able to land a takedown, or as Jed sort of is predicting, rocks Pettis and then gets him to the ground that way. But some way, one way or another, he's going to find his way to the mat and find himself on top of Sergio Pettis. I'm not too confident in Pettis' ground defense. He's a good wrestler. He's good on top, but I think once Moreno gets him down, which I think is ultimately inevitable, I think he is just going to wither under Brandon Moreno's, fantastic submission skills. The guy is incredibly dynamic. He's incredibly crafty. He's tough. He's gritty. He's, and he's fun. He's super fun to watch. He has a great attitude, great personality. He's the guy you want in this flyweight division. He's not going out there like Conor McGregor and talking trash, but he is a fun guy to watch. He's a fun guy to listen to, and he's only, he's very young. There's a reason he's called the Assassin Baby. The guy, he looks incredibly young, and he is quite young. I want to say like 23. I could be off by a year or two. I just think, that's basically it. I think Pettis, when it's on the feed, she's winning, but when it's on the mat, all day, Brandon Moreno. And I'll go second round submission just because, I hate to be exactly the same as you two, but that's when I see it getting the job done. Moreno does slow down a tiny bit, so I think early is more likely than like a fourth or fifth. So Moreno, second round submission is the pick. Although if Pettis boxes him up for 5 rounds, I won't be shocked. But I gotta imagine a grappler this good is gonna find himself on top of Pettis, sometime throughout 25 minutes and lock something up. So that is the pick. Moreno, second round submission. And that does it for episode 78 of Before the Battle. Hold on. Before we say, that's it for UFC Fight Night 114. But before we say goodbye, we have to get to DraftKings, and before that, we have to get to our performance of the night, Fight Night bonuses. Wes, will let you go first. Who's taking home Fight of the Night, and who's taking home the 2 performances of the night?
Ooh, I'm going to give my 2 performances. I'll start with that first, to Brandon Moreno and Alan Jouban. And I'm going to give my Fight of the Night to, that's a pretty hard one to call. I'm going to go out on the limb and go Alejandro Perez versus Andres Sukumta.
And Jed?
Man, might be the hardest bonuses we've ever had to do, for me personally at least. Like, I've got Brandon Moreno on my performance bonuses. That's the only one that I felt like even reasonably good about picking. My other performance, I'm picking Ronnie Yaya. I almost picked Alan Jouban too, but he hasn't gotten a performance bonus in forever. At the same time, I almost picked Jouban Price's Fight of the Night because Jouban has a bunch of Fight of the Night performances in his career. And that, could be a thing. Similarly, I think the Morales, whatever that Sanchez or whoever the fuck that is that he's fighting, could be a fight.
Roberto Sanchez.
Yeah, that could be a Fight of the Night contender. We all know Sam Alvey, Rashad Evans is probably going to win Fight of the Night because we all think it's going to be shit. Suddenly it's going to be an amazing fight. But it's just with a card like this, there's nothing given. I'm sticking with my tried and true rule of, for Fight of the Night, just pick the main event because they're 5 rounds and just more opportunity for it to be Fight of the Night. So yeah, Pettis Moreno's Fight of the Night, Moreno, Yaya, as my performances. Basically, because Yahya is one of two people I'm picking to get a stoppage. I'm picking everything on this card to go to decision except Hani Yahya and Brandon Moreno. So those are my performance bonuses.
So you're giving 100K to the Assassin Baby?
Yeah, that's what I think is happening so far.
I've been thinking about that. You know, it's risky. It doesn't happen often. You have to be Justin Gaethje has to do that. But hey, I mean, fight of the night. If it goes long enough, Moreno Pettis all day. The one concern I have is that Moreno gets it done too quickly. You know, if it goes into the third, the fourth rounds, then that's fight of the night. But if it ends as soon as we're all thinking, that's going to be tough. Despite that, the only other option that stands out to me is Dustin Ortiz and Hector Sandoval, and I think we could see a bit too much wrestling and clinch work in that fight for it to be, you know, fight of the night per se. So 100K goes to Assassin Baby. I think Brandon Moreno is going to be the star here. Fight of the night, Pettis Moreno, performances of the night, Brandon Moreno and Alan Jouban. So we're all different, not by a whole lot, but we're mixing it up a little bit. Let's move on to DraftKings, and then let's get out of here. Jed, who are your 6 fighters on your DraftKings team for Fight Night Mexico?
This was also a really tough DraftKings for me. I do not feel super good about my team at all, mainly because I just don't feel super good about almost any fight on this card. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I want to build my team around this guy. With that being said, my team is Brandon Moreno is the one guy I feel pretty good about. Alan Jouban, the other guy, and Hani Yahya. Those 3 guys are the expensive parts of my team. Alexa Grasso and Quinones are the kind of mid-tier people. And Hector Sandoval is the cheap guy who makes it all come together because we all established that the Sandoval-Ortiz fight is going to be close. I think maybe he could pull out a win there, so it's fine to have one. If I gotta have one inexpensive dude, I honestly actually considered not putting anybody expensive on my team and just having like Morales and Alejandro Perez and just like cutting out Jouban and Sandoval and just being like, yeah, here's a bunch of middle of the road guys and see what works. But I'm going with that. We'll see how it works. I don't feel confident. Don't tell me if that's what y'all do.
Wes, who do you got? DraftKings, who do you got this week?
Well, I'm picking a guy that I picked and you all didn't, and that most people are picking, but that's just because I was confident in his tape, and that's Humberto Bendene. He was the cheapest person, and I feel like after watching some of the tape, he's got a pretty good chance, to be honest. So I threw him on there. I've got Jack Hermanson. I've got Alan Jouban. I've got Brandon Babyface Moreno, Hector Sandoval, and Hani Yahya.
Wow, we have a very similar team.
Which, how many do we have the same? Probably 3.
We both have Yahya, Jouban, Moreno. You have Hermanson, Sandoval, and Dene versus my Grasso, Quinones. Oh, I have Sandoval too, so we have 4. So yeah, I have Grasso and Quinones against your Bendene, Hermanson.
I like yours a little more. I think you have a good. I mean, the Bendene is going to be the swayer.
Yeah, like if Bendene could be different. Like I don't know, Grasso probably is getting less points than Hermanson. So then it's like, how does Bendene and Quinones fit?
You forgot that there's a third person here. You guys are just going for second place.
Okay, lay it on us, big man.
Didn't you pretty much count my team out last week completely, thinking it was one of the worst created of all time?
I did, but at least you didn't bet your Monopoly.
Not only did he, Wes, not only did he, his team then did it. If you doubled his score, he still lost to you.
That is really, really embarrassing now that I really think about it.
It fucking is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm rebounding this week. I know I said that last week, but this time you guys got to believe me. Here we go. Alan Jouban, Joseph Morales, Brandon Moreno, Jack Hermanson, Hector Sandoval, and Andre Sukumta. If you need me to repeat anything, let me know. And
so Jouban, Morales, Moreno, Sandoval, Hermanson, and Sukumta?
Yes, sir.
So you have the same fucking team we do.
Me and you are identical?
No, I mean, like, all
We're
three
all
of us.
close.
All three of us have Joban, Moreno, and Sandoval on our squads. You have Morales, Hermanson, and Sukumta. So you and Wes share 4 because both you and Wes have Joban, Moreno, Sandoval, and Hermanson. You happen to have Morales and Sukumta. Wes has Bandone and Yaya. But me and Wes share Yaya, Sandoval, Joban, and Moreno. And like me and you share 3 fighters, Nick. Me and Wes share 4, and you and Wes share 4.
And so to recap, my team is the best team and it's gonna win.
Honestly, I'm actually like, after hearing y'all squads, I feel better than I did. I still like my team doesn't seem great to me, but we share most of the same things, and like if the difference between me and Wes is Grasso and Quinones, I'm pretty okay with that.
Look back at my team, and I almost had, up until a second ago, I had Diego Rivas instead of Hermanson, and then I realized I had 1,200 left. I'm like, oh, I can do Hermanson instead of Rivas. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
I have 0 left. Like Sandoval is made my team fit perfectly, so I have $0 left. Wes, how many dollars do you have left?
I've got 400, so a little bit more, but
yeah, but that's.
And I only have 100 left. So Hermanson, instead of Rivas, definitely change that.
I honestly, after looking, I feel a little better. I still don't feel great, but
I feel fantastic. I feel fantastic
because I'm the only one with Grasso, and I think she's gonna win. Like, I think she's gonna win clearly.
Grasso could win this week. Grasso could win, but she's still not gonna get more than 70 points.
Yeah, she's not going to get a ton of points. My big concern with the DraftKings team was, I was like, fuck, I don't really think Sandoval's going to win, but I know he could, so I'm just putting him on the team. But then both of y'all have him. So, like, my biggest concern, y'all are both stuck to that liability with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm okay having Quinones and Grasso, who are the differences on my team versus Wes, and Quinones, Grasso, and Yaya are the differences between me and you. I'm totally down with like those 3 people being my difference makers.
So you have Quinones, Grasso, and Yaya, and then I have Morales, Hermanson, and Sukumta. Yeah. I'm more confident. You're more confident. Wes is confident. Coming off a big win, I'm confident. We're all I'm too cocky. I'm actually not cocky. I just I like to piss Jed off, but I look stupid afterwards. But gonna get back.
Yeah, I think I'm beating you this time, Nick.
Gonna get back on track.
Me and Wes are close. I think I'm beating you though.
I think Jed's gonna take it this week, just to give my prediction.
Wes, how can you not be, calling yourself the winner? Change your team right now. If you think Jed's gonna win,
I could literally copy it pick for pick, but I'm not gonna back out.
That's why I respect you, Wes. I'm not going to just copy his fucking team, Nick. I already committed.
I'm not looking back.
Plus, if we remember, this is the same tune Wes was singing last week.
I know, yeah, right.
So
whenever I think I'm going to finish dead last, I pretty much can like double your points and still win.
I think you're beating Nick. I think Nick's finishing dead last. You and me are close. Looking at our team, if Bandone, who I've seen nothing on Bandone, so I trust that when you say you think he's going to upset, if he does, like, you definitely can win.
I'm going to feel happy, but it's scary.
It is a little scary to have one of the like bigger underdogs on the card be the linchpin of your team.
Like the cheapest possible on DraftKings possible, like you can possibly be.
That's why I'll respect it if it works for you.
That's all right. I did have Volcon last week, so that just a little shocker.
Hey, that was a big pick, man. It worked out very well for you.
I was very pleased. I should have just changed my pick because of that.
You were on the Volcon, the no time train before anybody else. I respect that about you, Wes.
Maybe I'll do it for when he fights Gustafson. You never know.
He's fighting Johnny Bones Jones. He's taking the pick.
I'll put Volcon on my team. If that happens, I'll make sure I put him on there.
I will not. I will have John Jones.
I would legitimately consider picking Osmir over Gustafson, which it's crazy, but how can you not at this point? Guys, 3-0. We're all 0-3 picking him.
Because he lost to OSP. He won, but he lost.
He would murk OSP if they fought again.
I don't know about murk.
They fought like a year ago.
No, in February, like half a year ago. I know, but
because he has twice punched a dude right here behind the head and that guy fell over, suddenly that just makes him an unstoppable killer.
Yeah, it absolutely does. The guy is the GOAT already. Now he just needs to prove it.
I'm with you. Sure. Let's live in that world because it's a happy one.
Let's end off with some Volkan Ozdemir greatest of all time talk. Let's get the people respond to us if you agree with me or disagree. I'm thinking I know what tweets I'm going to get, so do that, and I'll appreciate it. With that, episode 78, Before the Battle, is in the books, so thank you guys for hanging with us for the past, I'm going to say, hour and a half. Whoa, 2 hours. 2 hours on a awful card. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us?
We were just getting in the time because we're not going to talk to each other forever.
So let's just go for another 2 hours. Let's just hang here.
Unless we're going to do, like, dude, even the upcoming Bellators are shit. Like, it's just awful.
Well, no, Bendo Patricky is actually fun.
Bendo Patricky's in September.
All right. Well,
it's at the end of September. Koreshkov. Yeah, we get Koreshkov and Njokuani is the weekend of McGregor Mayweather. I guess we can do that. Like, maybe that card is viable, but
Brennan Ward is fighting who in the coming event?
I don't even know. Hold on, let me look into it.
Card's okay.
Fernando Gonzalez.
Kartanyan is fighting.
Yeah.
Georgie's fighting.
AJ McKee's fighting.
Pineda?
Who's Georgie fighting?
Pineda.
Where the fuck is that? I don't see that. Oh, Chris Honeycutt's on this card.
Prelim.
Oh, yeah. Georgie's fighting Daniel Pineda. Chris Honeycutt's on the card. Chris Honeycutt's fighting Kevin Casey. That actually is a good fight. No one will give a shit about it, but it's a good fight. Noad Lahat's fighting Henry Corrales.
That's fun. That's fun.
That's a pretty good card, to be honest.
Also, holy Jesus Christ, there are 18 fights on this fucking card.
And that's the reason I don't watch Bellator prelims.
So we'll see you on next few weeks, 3-hour show.
Yeah, so it's just like, I guess we can do one for that, but otherwise, there ain't. Is there a PFL worth shit? No. Yeah, so like that's the only card we can do. And if we do that Bellator, then we can talk about Mayweather McGregor because that Bellator's the night before. So I guess we can do that then, but that's 3 weeks from now. Fuck.
Well, we say farewell for now. We appreciate you guys listening. I will miss you guys, and that's it. So Jed, let the people know where they can find you on social media if they're not following you there already, where they can find your writing, your amazing podcast, and anything else you would like to plug.
You can follow me on social media on Twitter at JEDKMESHEW. Everything that I do links off there, so just give me a follow. It's the easiest way to keep up with what I'm doing. Otherwise, you can find my writing every single day at MMAfighting.com. I take care of the morning report, so that comes out every morning at 8 a.m. And I also throw in pieces as the week goes on, working on a couple ahead of the Mayweather-McGregor spectacle that I'm not super happy about, but such is the way of the world. My podcast, The Naked Truth, is going to be on an extended to indefinite hiatus while we are dealing with so we're doing our own thing at the moment. But you can go listen to that on YouTube. Links from there off of my Twitter account as well. And my other podcast, The MMA Circus, drops every week. This week, we spoke with Mookie Alexander and Volkan Ozdemir, the Volkan Ozdemir, coming off his knockout win at UFC 214. Some excellent interviews there that some jackass who I co-host with did. I wasn't involved in those. But otherwise, check out the circus every week. That's all I got.
And you can also find it, I would assume, in the MMA Fighting Morning Report tomorrow morning. Hint,
Bitch,
hint.
You're not the boss of me.
All right, Wes, where can we find you on social media? Again, you've been here for a long time. They're probably following you already. But if we have some new listeners, let them know, and where they can find your writing and anything else you would like to share.
You can follow me on Twitter at allthatMMA. You can find my writing over at MMAsucker.com. Now that I'm finished with my summer school class, I'm planning on doing a lot more writing in these upcoming weeks. Might be going to the Bellator card that's going to be at Bristol Motor Speedway. And I'm hoping if I can, then I'm going to be able to push out some content for that, even though there's going to be no fighters there worthwhile talking about. But I'd like to try to get some stuff out to talk about it.
The guy in the main event, Ben Sargent's actually really cool.
I've heard of Sargent, but I don't know a lot about him, so I plan on doing quite a bit of studying just to kind of get prepared and talk about the card.
Don't study Bellator Speedway.
Well, just if I do end up going,
we'll do it before the battle of it.
You'll see that next week. No, if I do, then I'll push out some just to try to give that card a little emphasis and maybe be able to hook up with a couple of different people down there. Besides that, I'm not really going to be around these next couple of weeks. If you want someone to join you on Circus, I'm always around, so maybe you'll see me sneak in there.
Get in there, Wes.
So maybe. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Always appreciate it and hanging out with you guys. So really good show.
Alrighty, you guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. The campaign for the return of the blue check mark still stands. I've been declined twice, but the head is still up. Let's do it. All right, you can find my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. You can find my podcast. I host it sometimes with Andrew Lawrence and sometimes with the Jed Meshew. It is called the MMA Circus. We talked on episode 122 that dropped today. That is right, today. We had Mookie Alexander and Volkan Ozdemir on the program. Great interviews. And Jed and I discussed all things UFC.
We talked for like 4 hours, too. It was so goddamn long.
No, we talked for 2 hours. Long. 214 deserved it, but and then we spent 5 minutes on this card. We just spent 2 hours on this card, and on the Circus we spent 5 minutes. That is fantastic.
Because we told everybody to listen to Before the Battle, so they didn't need to get it from us twice.
True, it's true. Well, you can find that there. I think that's it. Appreciate you guys listening as always. Go check us out on social media. We'll be back. We don't know when. It's not going to be next week for the Bellator Motor Speedway or whatever.
August 24th. We're going to do it because we have to recap who wins this weekend. So we'll just do that Bellator card, which isn't bad. And then we can also talk about Mayweather-McGregor because shoot me in the goddamn head. But August 23rd or whatever, that week we'll be here.
All right. So according to Jed, we'll be there August 24th or sometime that week to break down Bellator and then some weird boxing fight happening the day after. Oh, one thing I need to plug, Lopez Radio. I was on Lopez Radio with Jeremy Lopez the other day. That was dropped yesterday, I believe. Really fun show. One of my favorite podcasts I've ever done.
That guy.
Oh, yes. I remember mentioning him early on. That's funny. Atlanta. The Atlanta bitterness coming through from Jed Meshew here. But no, that was a really fun interview. Talked all about how I got into MMA, my writing career, if you want to call it that, starting young, and talked a bit 214, talked a little bit about just the MMA journalism scene as a whole. So super fun stuff. That was about 2 hours long, so go check it out if you have the time. Jeremy Lopez is a fantastic podcaster, so go check it out, lopezradio.com and all over iTunes and all that. Same with MMA Circus. We appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you again not very soon, but closer to the end of this month. We appreciate it. Enjoy the fights. If you do plan on watching, hopefully they'll be better than we all think. Good night. Goodbye.